The morning after the human shuttle had saved thousands on the distant moon, the grand palace of Valara Prime was quieter than usual. The sun's twin beams cut through the crystal windows, illuminating the polished floors and ornate walls, but the hall was almost empty. Noble advisors whispered in low tones, unsure of what to do next. The Varelian Empire had never seen courage like that before. Calm, steady, and unarmed courage. Princess Lyra Varelian sat on the edge of the dais, her violet eyes scanning the city below. The memory of Sergeant Ryan Hale walking away from the hall without his armor replayed in her mind. She remembered the silence, the clatter of metal falling to the floor, and the calm way he had faced her challenge. How can one human be so strong without weapons? She wondered. The palace alarm suddenly blared. Emergency lights flashed across the walls. The council chamber filled quickly with generals, ministers, and advisors. Their voices rose in panic. A fleet of unknown attackers is moving toward the human sector, one general shouted, his claws clacking nervously. The moon is unstable. If it collapses, thousands of lives are at risk, another cried. Lyra stood and hurried toward the council chamber. Stop, she called. We need a plan, not panic. The generals turned, surprised. She was only 19, but her voice carried authority. We cannot delay. We must act, and we must protect the civilians. Who can reach them first? A murmur ran through the council. Our fleet. But it will take hours. They are not prepared for sudden attacks of this magnitude. Lyra's violet eyes widened. She knew immediately who could act faster. She ran to the palace communications room, tapping her wrist device. Patch me to the human delegation, she commanded. The human shuttle appeared on the screen, its small craft moving through space with incredible precision. Ryan Hale was at the helm, guiding evacuees to safety, his calm expression unchanged despite exhaustion. His team moved with practiced skill, coordinating rescue efforts without hesitation. Lyra felt a strange mix of relief and awe. He doesn't need orders. He just knows what to do. Ryan, she spoke into the comm, her voice steady but urgent. We need your help. The moon is in danger again. Can you? On it, Princess, Ryan replied calmly. We're already on our way. Don't worry about protocol. Focus on safety first. Lyra watched in silence as the human shuttle maneuvered through a storm of falling debris and collapsing energy shields. Aliens of many species were being guided onto human crafts. The humans used their smaller, agile ships to block falling fragments, even shielding civilians with themselves if necessary. Their numbers were few, but their coordination, courage, and determination were unmatched. Hours passed. The alien fleet arrived finally, but the humans had already stabilized the situation. Structures were damaged, energy fields were down, but thousands of lives were saved because a handful of humans had acted decisively. Lyra sat on the balcony, her mind spinning. The princess who had mocked Ryan only a day ago now felt a sense of awe. These humans were fragile by alien standards, but they had strength far beyond what she had ever imagined. When Ryan returned to Valara Prime, he was tired and dirty, his suit smudged with debris. But he walked into the hall with the same calm confidence he had shown the day before. The room that had once laughed at him was now silent, filled with nobles who could hardly believe what they had seen. Lyra stepped forward from the dais. Her violet eyes met his brown ones. You risked your life? For my people, she said softly. For our people, Ryan corrected gently. Allies don't need to be alike to stand together. The words hung in the air. Lyra realized then that strength wasn't just about advanced ships, glowing powers, or titles. Strength could be quiet, determined, and selfless. It could exist in a single human who refused to back down even when mocked, even when vulnerable. Over the next few days, Lyra observed Ryan and the humans closely. They trained, repaired their crafts, and helped teach the alien citizens basic survival techniques. They adapted quickly, using creativity and resilience to solve problems. Unlike the Varelians, who relied on advanced technology, humans relied on ingenuity and willpower. One afternoon, while the humans were working in the palace gardens, Lyra approached Ryan. He was lifting a fallen crystal shard from the walkway. Careful not to break it further. You make it look easy, she said. Ryan looked up and smiled faintly. It's not easy. It's just what needs to be done. Lyra hesitated, then asked quietly, Why do you do this? For us, for the aliens? You barely know us. Ryan wiped sweat from his brow. Because it's right. Someone has to act. Someone has to protect life, even if it's not our own. That's what humans do. Lyra studied him carefully. She noticed the calm determination in his expression, the way he treated every task with respect, no matter how small. I thought humans were weak, she admitted. We aren't weak, Ryan said simply. We survive. That's what makes us strong. The princess felt a strange warmth in her chest. For the first time, she understood what her teachers had never explained. Strength was not just power or elegance. It was endurance. It was courage. It was doing what was right, even when mocked, even when scared. As days passed, the bond between the humans and the Varelians began to grow. Lyra invited Ryan to the Royal Archives, where the history of the Empire was kept. She wanted to show him how much the Empire valued strength and honor. You see these records? She said, pointing to images of legendary warriors. These are the greatest heroes of our species. They all possessed grace, power, and skill. Ryan nodded. Impressive. But strength doesn't always come from skill. Sometimes it comes from persistence, from refusing to give up when everything is against you. Lyra frowned thoughtfully. You may be right. Humans have something different. Something that even we, with all our power, don't fully understand. In the days that followed, Ryan led training exercises for both humans and Varelians. He demonstrated teamwork, quick thinking, and adaptability. He encouraged aliens to trust instincts over strict rules, to rely on courage as much as power. The Varelians watched in amazement as their most elegant warriors learned to adapt, improvise, and respect the resourcefulness of humans. One evening, Lyra joined Ryan in the palace courtyard. The twin moons hung low in the sky, casting silver light across the gardens. The air was quiet, filled only with the soft hum of energy crystals. You've changed how I see humans, she said softly. I mocked you because I thought strength was only what I could see. But now I see something else, something deeper. Ryan looked at her, tired but calm. Strength isn't always visible. Sometimes it's in what you choose to do when no one is watching. Sometimes it's in standing up when everyone expects you to fall. Lyra smiled faintly. And you've done all that without armor, without power, and yet you are the strongest person I know. Ryan shrugged. I'm just a human soldier. But humans, we endure. We protect. We keep walking forward no matter the odds. The princess nodded, feeling a sense of humility she had never known. She realized that her laughter the day before had been shallow, born of ignorance. Now she felt inspired. Not just by Ryan, but by humanity itself. Weeks passed and the humans continued to work alongside the Varelians, strengthening the alliance. Ryan's calm bravery became legendary in Valara Prime, and the princess herself began to adopt lessons from the humans. Patience, endurance, and the courage to act even when mocked or underestimated. One morning, as the twin suns rose over the city, Lyra wrote in her personal journal, He took off his armor. I was the one who was truly exposed. In his vulnerability, I saw strength beyond anything I have ever known. Humans are fragile, yet they endure. That is their greatest power. Later that day, she walked beside Ryan in the palace gardens. I owe you thanks, she said. For saving lives, for teaching me, for showing me what courage truly is. Ryan smiled, modest as always. No thanks needed. We humans do what must be done. That's all. Lyra shook her head. No, you've done more than that. You've changed the way I see the world. You've shown me that strength comes in many forms. And I want to learn more from you, from humans. Ryan glanced at her, surprised but pleased. Then I'll do my best to teach. Together we can make sure our species survive and thrive. As they walked, the twin suns reflected off the crystalline towers, painting the city in golden light. The princess, the humans, and the Empire had all learned something valuable. That courage, endurance, and quiet strength could triumph over mockery, pride, and doubt. And in that moment, a new chapter began. One where humans and Varelians stood together, stronger for their differences, inspired by each other, and ready to face any challenge the universe might throw at them. Ryan Hale, the human soldier who had walked away from mockery without armor, had shown the galaxy something simple, yet profound. True strength comes not from what you wear or what you wield, but from the heart and the will to do what is right. Princess Lyra never forgot that lesson, and Valara Prime would never view humans the same way again. The story of a human soldier's courage and an alien princess's awakening became legend, a tale told for generations. the day a human walked unarmored through mockery, and the galaxy learned what it truly meant to endure. The twin suns of Valara Prime shone high above, painting the capital city in gold and silver light. Tall, crystalline towers reflected the light like mirrors, and flying transport ships zipped between them like streaks of energy. The city was alive, bustling with aliens of all shapes and sizes, but at the center of it all was the grand palace of the Varelian Empire. Inside the palace, the main hall gleamed with polished floors that reflected the violet light of energy crystals embedded in the walls. Nobles in flowing robes and shimmering gowns filled the space, their voices echoing in a melody of refined chatter. Today was a special day, the alliance ceremony between the Varelian Empire and the human species. It was meant to symbolize peace, cooperation, and mutual respect. Standing near the entrance was Sergeant Ryan Hale, a human soldier from Earth. His gray exo-armor glinted in the palace light, and though it was scratched and dented from countless battles, it was clean and functional. To most aliens, it looked clumsy, bulky, and primitive, a protective shell that spoke of fear rather than courage. But to Ryan, it represented every battle he had survived and every life he had saved, human and alien alike. He felt the weight of alien eyes on him as he walked through the hall. The whispers were soft at first, but they grew louder as he approached the dais where the royal family sat. Ryan didn't flinch. He had faced worse than whispers before. He had faced creatures that could crush mountains, storms that could strip forests bare, and enemies that did not hesitate to kill. A few mocking looks and words did not scare him. At the front of the hall sat Princess Lyra Varelian, 19 years old, the youngest heir to the throne. Her long hair shimmered in shades of silver and violet, her eyes sparkling with curiosity and pride. She was known throughout the empire for her intelligence, her quick wit, and her sharp tongue. She had grown up among advisors, scholars, and generals, learning that weakness was to be mocked and that strength was to be celebrated. As Ryan and the human delegation were announced, Lyra leaned slightly toward her advisors, her violet eyes gleaming with amusement. "Humans," she said softly, yet her words carried clearly through the hall. "The species that still wears metal shells to protect their fragile bodies." How quaint. A ripple of laughter followed her words. Some nobles covered their mouths politely, while others giggled openly. The human delegation stiffened, but Ryan did not. He kept his gaze forward, his posture steady. He had expected mockery. Humans had always been underestimated by other species, often called fragile, weak, or primitive. Yet every time he heard it, it only reminded him why humans survived where others failed, because of courage, endurance, and determination. Lyra's smile widened. She had expected fear, or at least unease, but Ryan's calm presence was unexpected. His helmet hid much of his expression, but she could feel his resolve radiating. It intrigued her. "You wear a helmet," she said, her voice louder now so everyone could hear. "Not for protection, I assume. Surely you are not afraid of us?" The hall went silent. Her words were more than a question. They were a challenge. She expected him to shrink under the weight of the room, to lower his gaze, or to give a weak excuse. Ryan stepped forward. The echo of his boots on the polished floor seemed to demand attention. He stopped a few meters from the dais, facing the princess without hesitation. Slowly, deliberately, he reached up and unlocked his helmet. A hiss of air followed as the pressure equalized. When the helmet lifted, it revealed his face, calm, steady, and unafraid. His brown eyes looked directly into Lyra's violet ones. "No, Your Highness," he said, his voice clear and even. "I wear it because I've walked through fire to make sure your stars still shine." A soft murmur went through the crowd. The words were simple, but their meaning was powerful. Lyra blinked. She had not expected that. The calm confidence in his voice was unusual, admirable even. But the princess was not ready to admit admiration yet. She leaned forward slightly, her expression playful but challenging. "And yet," she said, "you remain hidden behind it. Perhaps humans are too timid to show their true faces." Ryan's hands moved to the clasps of his armor. One by one, the pieces clicked and fell away. The boots, gauntlets, chestplate, shoulder pads, and each piece clattered softly on the floor. The room collectively held its breath. When the last piece fell, Ryan stood there unarmed, unarmored, and completely vulnerable. He was not tall by alien standards, nor did he have their glowing energy or elegant forms. He was a human. Lean, muscular from training but flesh and bone completely exposed. "Humans don't hide," he said simply. "We endure." Then he turned and walked away. Not fast, not in panic, but steady, purposeful, with every step echoing in the silent hall. Whispers filled the room. The nobles were shocked, some confused, some impressed. Lyra herself remained frozen, her violet eyes fixed on the departing soldier. She had mocked him, thinking it would be amusing to watch him squirm. But he had not squirmed. He had not even reacted with anger. He had shown strength in a way she had not expected. That night, Lyra could not sleep. She paced in her private chambers, the twin moons casting silver light through the windows. She replayed the event over and over in her mind. The calm expression, the measured words, the courage to remove his armor and stand vulnerable before the most powerful beings in the Empire. Who is this human? She wondered. Why do his words weigh more than my laughter? Meanwhile, Ryan returned to his quarters. He sat quietly, removing the last straps of his underarmor. The mission was simple: represent Earth with dignity, show humans as equals, and survive. But he had done more than that. He had reminded a proud alien empire that humans were not to be underestimated. Ryan thought about the people of Valara Prime he had never met, who would soon rely on humans to be their allies. It was strange to feel protective of a species that had laughed at him. But that was human nature, to defend life not for reward or recognition, but because it was the right thing to do. The next morning, the palace was abuzz with the aftermath. Noble advisors discussed the human delegation in hushed, excited tones. Some suggested that the human soldier was reckless, while others argued that he was brave beyond reason. Lyra, however, remained silent. She wandered the halls, her mind replaying Ryan's words. By midday, the palace received urgent news. A distant moon, important for the stability of the alliance, was under threat from an unknown force. Panic swept through the council. The alien generals argued, the ministers debated, but no decisive action was taken. Lyra felt a strange stirring in her chest. She remembered Ryan's calm confidence, his willingness to walk unarmored through a room full of powerful beings. She wondered, what would he do now? Sure enough, from the palace balcony she saw a small human shuttle lift off into the sky. It was unarmed and modest, unlike the advanced ships of the Varelian fleet, but it moved with purpose. Her heart raced. That human. He has gone to help. The shuttle arrived at the threatened moon faster than anyone expected. From the observation feed, Lyra watched Ryan coordinate evacuation efforts. Alien civilians were guided to safety, small crafts maneuvering between collapsing structures and energy surges. Even when shields failed, the humans pressed forward, risking their lives to protect beings who had mocked them only a day before. Hours later, the danger passed. The moon was damaged but not destroyed. Thousands of lives were saved. The alien fleet arrived too late to take credit. But Lyra saw the truth. Humans were capable of courage that surpassed technology, elegance, or titles. When Ryan returned to the palace, his armor still absent, he was covered in soot and exhaustion. The hall that had laughed at him before now fell silent. Even the princess could not find words immediately. "You risked your life for my people," she said softly, finally breaking the silence. "For our people," Ryan corrected gently. "Allies don't need to be alike to stand together." Lyra looked into his tired eyes. Something shifted within her, a mixture of respect, curiosity, and humility. For the first time, she understood what it meant to be truly strong. That night, Lyra stood beneath the twin moons, thinking about what she had seen. She made a private vow. The alliance with Earth would not just be political. She would learn from humans their courage and their quiet strength. "He took off his armor," she wrote in her journal, "but I was the one truly exposed. In his vulnerability, I saw the true measure of humanity." The princess smiled faintly, her mind alive with possibilities. And somewhere not far away, Ryan rested, unaware of the impact he had made on a young alien princess, but already ready for the next challenge that awaited him.